Hello, friends. Thanks for tuning into this week's Brain Food. You know, I was at a presentation recently that was talking about the Great Resignation, and it really got me thinking about employers' perspectives and employees' perspectives. I've tried to, over my career, have one leg in each camp. As an employer, I've been in that role many times, and as the employee, which of course we all start out as an employee. And so I kind of have feelings for both sides of that equation, and I thought it'd be interesting to kind of pass on some of the information that I got recently about the Great Resignation. So I'm going to start out with some quick statistics. Groaner, I know, but it sets the conversation and it's eye-opening what some of the statistics are if you haven't seen them. And then I'm going to talk about the top 5 reasons that people are leaving their jobs. My hope is that some of this information I'm going to share with you today resonates. You might be getting it right as an employer and you're keeping your people or not. And you might be in a great position as an employee or taking some abuse you don't need to be taking. So hopefully this will give you some things to think about when you're considering this whole trend in our culture right now of the Great Resignation. I will be including a link in the description below to the resources that I used for this video today so you can check out my statistics for yourself. And the first thing that I wanted to share was a graph that I got from SHRM about the different past years, and the rates of people quitting their jobs. And it's shocking when you see the graph. From 2001 to 2017, the average number of people quitting every year was about 2.5 to 3 million people. And so that's just been kind of the pulse. It goes up, it goes down across those years, but that's, 17 years of data that they're looking at. And then something interesting started to happen in 2018 to 2020. That average bumped up to 3.5 million. So that's where the ski slope started to form, where more and more people started quitting their jobs. And then what's crazy is in 2021, 4.5 million people left their jobs. And if you look at that slope, you'll see it's a ski slope for sure that continues to point upward. There's been a dip recently, but it does not look like it's slowing down anytime soon. And so what's interesting is that one of the stats that was talked about in that chart that made up the chart was that people 18 to 40 years old are the ones making up the biggest share of people quitting. And the industries, leisure and hospitality were some of the biggest industries of people quitting, as well as technology and medical. So if you think about that, the leisure and technology is customer facing, and there's a bunch of cranky going on in 2021. And then, technology and medical, it's just having to do too much with too few resources in a lot of companies, so people are getting spread too thin. So the next thing I wanted to look at, I found another resource that talked about the number one reasons, the top reasons that people are quitting their jobs. The very first one, corporate culture, a toxic corporate culture. And I think you can probably tie into that. The number one people usually quit their job is their boss. And so toxic corporate culture, though, was by far the biggest reason that people are quitting. The next one was job insecurity and reorganization that might be coming in the future. And so you see a lot of that. There's been a lot of changes in staff and things in lots of companies. And, here in town, we've seen multiple companies, I'm not going to name some of the big names, but go through multi-years of reorgs and people wondering, am I going to be next on the hatchet for these people that are losing their jobs that have been there for 15 or 20 years? So if people aren't secure, they typically like to get out ahead of that and find something to make sure that they aren't impacted by that if their number comes up next time. The next one was high levels of innovation. So companies that are going through a lot of change and trying to take on a whole lot, that kind of also refers back to the people spread too thin. If a company's growing really quickly, that falls on the employees, and in addition to the day-to-day maintenance and responding to things that they've already built, they have more stuff to respond to as they're building new things even faster, and that can quickly burn people out. And the last one was failure to recognize employee performance. Oh my gosh, this is one of those ones tied to toxic corporate culture, and it's actually usually a problem with the boss, the manager of that person that's making that happen. So those were the top 4 reasons that people are quitting, and I just wanted to throw those out there for you to think about as an employer. Are you taking care of your people in these different regards? Do people like working for you? And if you ask them, if you Q&A'd them, what's the best thing about working for you? If they give you positive feedback, great. If they don't, then you might be looking at a toxic, if you have a good culture or not. And if you're an employee, same thing. You know if your company is great to work for and they've got all these cool things that you do together outside of work, and they have picnics in the summer and bowling tournaments and all this other stuff so that you can spend time together. And it's just a great place to work. They listen to you, whatever. You know if you have a good company culture and if your boss is taking good care of you and giving you credit where it's deserved and all those things. So whether you're an employer or an employee, those are some things that those top 4 things are things to kind of take a measurement of and how you're doing right now. So that's the brain food for this week. It's just been in the news so much, the whole Great Resignation, and I'm seeing it around the city for lots of different companies, not even the companies that are my clients. Just I have visibility in my consulting and different things, peer groups and all that, to what's going on with companies here in the city. And it's been an interesting time where people are quitting at a rate that's unprecedented. And there are also companies that have a success story during this time that are keeping the majority of their people. So I wanted to throw out these stats and some things to think about so that you could take a pulse as an employer. Are you taking care of your people the best that you can? And are you, as an employee, are you putting up with more than you should, or should be thankful for the company that you get to work for? Let me know in the comments below. I hope this was valuable. I know this was a longer one than normal, but it's kind of hard to do a brain food thing that talks about statistics and all these things without talking about it a little bit. Let me know if you like this one. I'll see you next week.